story of my current crush in vivid detail? No, I'm kidding. No, she's in Web1.
Testing. Okay, yeah. All right, I think we're good to go. Any last stragglers that are over there chit-chatting at the bar? Okay, let's get started.
What's up?
I want a round of applause for Harrowyn, our guest at Web3 Wednesday. You are a regular here at Web3 Wednesday. I'm so excited to interview you.
Oh, yeah.
We met during my panel at IRL Alpha. So Harrowyn is part of an amazing group called IRL Alpha. They meet every Thursday in Venice. They have a meetup at a rooftop and then go and have this panel discussion. It's like a heated debate, which I love.
It's like the Jerry Springer show of Web3.
Yeah, it's really fun, covering all sorts of different topics and news in Web3 that week. So me and Doja got to be guests on that show. It's Doja's big first appearance on TV. Anyway, so excited to have you here. First of all, congratulations on your single release, OX Dead.
Thank you.
Round of applause. We'll be able to hear it after this tonight. And you actually also had your art recently shouted out by Incubus. Is
Yes,
that
that's
correct?
true. That was such a trip, actually. Yeah.
Okay, how did?
Yeah.
So before we even get into the questions that I wanted to ask you tonight, how did that happen? How did they discover your work, and how did you get a shout out by them?
Yeah, that's a really cool story. So I go to this gym like just down the street from here. Shout out to the Stark crew. And there was this other dude there that just seemed super artsy, and like I like talk everyone's ear off there about like NFTs, and they're just like, dude, like shut up and do your leg press. And and like this guy like overheard me, and he's like, oh, like you do NFTs? Like I do NFTs too. And I think he's like relatively new, but a good friend named Nice Day Jules on Twitter. You guys should follow him. He's crushing it. But he blew up doing like rare Pepe art. Like he makes all these like Pepe art. It's really cool. And so he like blew up like that. People really vibed with it. And then I found out that he works with Incubus, and I was showing him some of my art, and I created this piece called Wish You Were Here. And Incubus has that, big famous song, Wish You Were Here. And he's like, yo, let me share this and see if people vibe. And it was crazy because I've never had like that much exposure and attention on one of my pieces before. And it was crazy because like none of those people that follow Incubus like know that I know who I am or what Web3 or NFTs are, but to see them have this emotional connection to my art and like what it means for them and like how the song has like affected their lives. I was reading through like everyone's comments like, damn dude, that hits home. Yeah.
Must have been a big moment for you.
Yeah, totally.
That's fun. Okay, so as an artist, what initially drew you to Web3?
It's a good question. I like the irreverent kind of degen aspect of it. Like, it's cool that you can, make money or lose money, but for me, it was just like the shit posting and the cultural nature of it. Like, I remember like my friend got me into it, and it was just everyone just kind of riffing each other. Like, oh, dude, you're not gonna make it. Like, oh, like, wag me this, NGMI that. And I thought it was hilarious, like all of this like lingo and stuff. And I was like, dude, these are my kind of people. I want to learn more about this. And then I thought that the art was really cool too. And I was like, oh, wow, like I've never seen glitch art before. I've never seen like, people that are taking videos of themselves and like actually creating a career out of it. And I was like, dude, that's fascinating. I want to learn more about this. But it was really like the lingo and like all these like GM and NGMI, like all that fun stuff.
Yeah, it's that like subculture that Web3 has created where it does remind me of, I used to play like just nerdy computer games and like online games and like those chats.
You're a fan of The Sims, right?
Yes. Not to reveal myself, but yes. So I do feel like it is that connection to like my nerdy teenage self and those subcultures that you would meet online. So, I mean, just even looking at you, you are like the epitome of the degen. I feel like the rogue, the rebel, the degen who's like really here for the culture. Do you think that Web3 is counterculture?
Yeah, I do. And it's interesting because, especially lately, there is maybe like some bearish sentiment among like the metaverse. Like I'm sure you've all seen that meme, like, oh, all the metaverse bros became AI bros now. Like I'm kind of like that too. I like AI now
No
too.
one cares about metaverse right now.
Metaverse is dead. But and I also consult for some projects that are trying to do like some Web 2 stuff, Web 3 stuff, and they're constantly telling me like, oh, dude, like zoom out of Web 3, bro. And then like you see these statistics that there's only 8,000 wallets left trading on OpenSea. And for me, like none of that matters. It's the cultural aspect that is going to drive this space forward more than like the financial aspect or anything else, because like for me that is the thing. Like I think that like the next big breakout artists, whether it's in digital art or music, are going to be attracted to this space because it's fun, because it's a new thing. And the more people gravitate to that culture, which is like the counterculture. It's like, dude, I don't give a fuck about like Spotify. I want to like listen to music over here. Like, oh, I don't give a fuck about like Sotheby's or Christie's. I want to go look at this art gallery. Like, it's going to continually revolutionize the space, and it's going to be culture that pushes that forward.
So, speaking of the culture and art, what are some like crypto native themes that exist and that you then apply to your art and your music?
Yeah, that's a good question as well. So I talk to a lot of artists that are maybe doing music outside of Web3 or doing art outside, and they're trying to figure out how can I break into the space. Some people will take a song that they've already made and then try to put it on the blockchain and then ask why am I not selling this, right? It's because it's not native crypto content. Like the more you can create something that resonates with the space natively, the better it's going to be. And so a really good example, like I've been really trying to internalize that concept, but a good example of that is someone like Xcopy. He's like the biggest artist in the space, sells pieces for like several $1,000,000, but he'll have a piece called like, this is clearly money laundering. And it's like, you know what I mean? It's like, oh, dude, that's hilarious. Like, or he'll have a piece called Grifter or something like that. And so I try and find like, what is the lingo and like, what are people resonating with that is unique to this space? That's kind of like our inside joke.
Yeah, I feel like some of the best pieces that I'm seeing right now that are even going at these huge gallery auctions like Sotheby's and Christie's are almost like satire.
Yeah.
Like the piece that Cosimo di Medici bought from Alpha Centauri Kid with like the little Miss Pepe in the distance, and it's like very subtle, but it's there. You see a lot of these little like, nods to memes out there.
Memes are the culture, and it's so funny when you see like the crash of so many projects. Like it's hilarious how most of like really the only thing that's held any value over the last 2 years are memes. Yeah. And that's what I'm talking about, is the culture.
I only exist on Instagram for the memes. That's how me and my little sister communicate, solely through memes.
I mean, look at Pepe coin, you know what I mean?
I may have bought some Pepe. Okay, so a lot of people are threatened by AI, and a lot of artists are confused and maybe don't really see the benefit of AI, or also feel threatened that it could affect their art in a negative way. How are you utilizing AI, and how do you think artists moving forward can utilize AI to just improve upon their art?
Yeah. Honestly, I was kind of against AI a little bit in the beginning. Like a lot of my friends are really into it, and I like it as a concept because I just like technology, whether it's metaverse or NFTs or blockchain or AI. Like I was talking about that meme earlier, like, oh, the metaverse bros or AI bros now. Like, it's not even like that. I think I just, like technology, and I think a lot of us do as well. So even though I was a little bit against AI, I just didn't think that it was like, punk rock enough or something like that. I was like, dude, there's no way an AI can like, shred a guitar or, but now I've like changed my views a little bit about it, because I think it was the Drake Weekend song that when you see something that's so undeniable, you're like, okay, dude, I either get with the program or I'm not gonna make it.
Yeah, I remember listening to that. It was insane. If any of you haven't heard it yet, just YouTube The Weeknd Drake AI track, and the Drake's verses sound like him. Like, you can't tell the
It
difference.
sounds better than the actual Drake.
Yeah, no, it's more Drake than Drake. Weeknd's a little questionable.
No. I disagree with that so hard. I think the Weeknd verse slaps, but okay.
So, studying your art, you do explore some very complex themes of crypto. So how do you make it, thought-provoking for people within Web3, but also accessible for people who aren't in Web3 and want to understand it and understand the art that is being created if it is so niche?
Yeah, that's something I've been struggling with, actually, because, my passion is like primarily music. And then over the last 2 years, I tried to get more into the digital art. Like, I've been painting and stuff for over 10 years. And then I tried to, apply that creativity to digital art. And I kind of live in between these two worlds of like, the Web 2 and the Spotify stuff, and then like the Web 3 and the blockchain stuff. And it's tough trying to cater to both audiences. Some of the people I look up to would say, forget Instagram, forget YouTube. You're just going to use Twitter and you're going to go all in on that and cater to like a degen Web3 audience. But then I'm like, dude, what about like that doesn't necessarily apply. Like, what if I'm a big YouTuber? Or what if I'm big on Spotify? Like, how am I going to bring my audience over to Web3? And so I think that it is like this catch-22 where it's like, if you try to bring your Web2 audience into Web3, like a lot of them just simply aren't going to get it, and you're going to like end up, doing something that alienates your Web3 audience. And so I'm still trying to figure that out for myself, but I think that if you can communicate like some of these jokes, like some of these inside jokes, like NGMI or not gonna make it, or look at Satoshi, or like X copy, this is money laundering. Like, if you can communicate something that is funny to people outside of Web3, they'll be like, okay, I get that, that's funny, like, let's go.
Okay, so it's an inside joke, but people outside
like include them in
it.
on the joke a little bit. Like an inside joke, like if you're hanging out with your friends and one of them's not in on the inside joke, they're gonna be like, dude, I don't want to, like, I don't get it. They'll feel alienated. If you can include them in on the culture, on the meme, in the joke, that's how you bring them in.
Okay, love it. So you mentioned that there's only 8,000 active wallets on OpenSea right now trading.
Well, I just got my grandma in, so 8,001.
Go, Grandma! Save us, please. Okay, so do you think NFTs are dead then?
Yeah, they always have been.
No!
No, like, that's the thing. Like, that is one of the jokes that got me into Web3, is because people, like, the first day on Twitter when I'm like looking into NFTs, all I see are NFTs are dead, NFTs are dead. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I just got here. Like, you know what I mean? And I thought that was a really funny joke. And it's this running theme. Like, people have been saying NFTs are dead years before most of us even heard about them. So it's this running joke, and like, they'll always be dead. But the thing is, like, the culture keeps pushing it forward. And that's the thing. Like, what is dead can never die.
Okay, I want to do a bit of a live poll here to see what the audience thinks. So, do we think NFTs are dead? Be honest. Raise your hand if you think NFTs are dead. Be honest. No, like, don't.
All right, we got a couple. We got a couple.
Unsure, which means that you think that they are. Okay, so we only have 3 people here that think NFTs are dead. I think that's pretty promising.
Oh, I forgot to raise my hand.
Okay. Yeah, I think the hype cycles will always, go up and down. But I think as long as now art doesn't have to have utility. The utility is the art itself. But I think what we're doing with Dancing Seahorse and what other, companies are doing with NFTs that actually have utility, I think will have a lasting presence. But the hype and the fad that we saw, especially in 21, I don't know if we'll see that again.
Yeah. So I did this art piece a couple weeks ago called Yacht Club, and it was a cool comment on like the timing of the space, because it was basically like I used AI to create it, and it was like a picture of a guy sitting on a yacht. The yacht's going up in flames and it's sinking, and it was sort of this commentary on like the hype cycle around the space. And the day I launched the piece, Franklin, who's like the #1 Bored Ape Yacht Club owner, like dipped out and sold all of his apes basically. And I don't think that we'll ever like hit those levels of hype again, but maybe that's a good thing, because it'll show you like who's really here for real. Like, I'm not fucking leaving.
Yeah, I think it's Yes, exactly. I think I even mentioned this to somebody once when they were getting ready to launch their collection, and they said there's not enough hype. And I'm like, that's actually good because you want people who are holders. You want the holders, not the hype, because the hype just means that they're gonna, they're paper handing it. They're just gonna sell it immediately. They're not in it for the long haul anyway.
Exactly.
Okay, so I mentioned Dancing Seahorse. And what we're doing with Dancing Seahorse is music NFTs. And we're really focused on musicians and then also ticketing. So allowing people to go to concerts with an NFT that they can then use again and again. It's more sustainable. It's, you're keeping people for the long haul, for holders, people who are really in it, and not just, one-off consumers. So what do you think about the music space in Web3 and the disruption that it's having?
Yeah, so that's why I don't think NFTs are really dead, because this stuff is going to progress in waves, in cycles. Like, the low-hanging fruit is JPEGs, right? Digital art. Like, yeah, anyone can take a picture of a monkey and put it on the blockchain, right? When you start implementing more complex models around music and licensing and royalties and all of that stuff, like, yeah, it's going to take a little bit more time to figure out how all of that works. So if the art market was disrupted last year, maybe next year the audio market gets disrupted and everything associated with that, whether it's ticketing, etc. Like, one of the things I find particularly interesting, my sister and I, we go to a lot of concerts. And she always collects the tickets and puts it in like a scrapbook. So she's got a binder full of like all the concert tickets we've ever been to. And I saw that, I'm like, dude, that is the best, simplest use case to bring normies onto like Web3 music.
Sounds like you need a Dancing Seahorse NFT.
Yeah, let's go.
Okay, so how do you think the Music 3 space will evolve over the next few years?
I think that it's really going to come down to like the dynamic between like artists and collectors, right? I think it'll follow a really similar model to how like the art market worked. Like, you'll have some breakout artists like an X-Copy or like a Alpha Centauri kid, and then you'll have some collectors that like really support that and help put that artist on the map. And so it's like this interesting dynamic between like creator and collector. And I think what we're going to see is like more degen Web3 native creators and musicians and artists like emerge, and then the collectors really kind of forming a cool group around that. Right now, like, I can't even think like off the top of my head like who is like a Web3 degen native music artist. Like, there's no Drake on the blockchain. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's a few that to me it's almost like a race to see who's gonna get there. There's some big contenders, I think, but one yet to really fully break through.
Yeah, and I don't necessarily think that you have to be the first. I don't even think that you have to be the best. Like I'm not the best singer. I'm not the best guitar player. And sometimes you get caught in this race of like, oh, don't compare yourself to others, especially as an artist. Like, oh, like, I'm not the best at this. I'm not the best at that. Like, all you have to be is uniquely qualified. If you're uniquely you, like, people will hear that sound and just, it's different, so I like it, you know?
That's a perfect segue into my next question, which is, what is the best piece of advice you've ever received as an artist?
Yeah. I'm fortunate to have some good role models. Patrick Amadon is, crushing it as a digital artist. Yeah, he's the glitch god, if you don't know. He's like one of my biggest role models. And he just said, keep doing you. Like, just keep doing you. You got to do it for a while, and eventually it'll all work out.
Sounds like a t-shirt. I think that needs to be your next piece.
Yeah.
Is that a ledger, by the way? I've always wondered. Your necklace.
What is? Yeah. I keep all my NFTs on here. They're all worthless now, though.
I was gonna say, ladies, make sure to get after him later, but they're worthless, so don't bother. Okay. Okay. So before we get into Q&A, so everyone get some questions ready. We'll hand out the mics shortly. So I want to know, who are some people that you're looking at right now that are in the Web3 space that are really making waves? They might be artists, they might be thought leaders, they might be shit posters on Twitter. Like, who are you really watching in the space that people should go follow?
Yeah, that's a good question. There's a couple people that I follow for like various reasons, like love them or hate them. I used to be really into like some fringe like NFT communities, like Funks and Miladies. So like love them or hate them.
Miladies is not fringe anymore. Elon Musk just
anymore.
posted them.
I know. But yeah, I follow like a lot of like kind of the fringe stuff. So I was like, following Polly and like the Pepe crew pretty early on. That's kind of like, because here's the thing, like if Web3 is the counterculture, like look for the counterculture within the counterculture. You know what I mean? Like Miladies are essentially the new punks. And so I'm trying to fight, like, too often we get caught up in like the wag me, we're all gonna make it, and I'm looking for the people that are saying like, no, you're not, like, you know what I mean? And so Polly is like one of the people that I follow for like the counterculture. In terms of like artists, I've been really.
What's Polly's tag? Do you know?
Poly OX.
Okay.
Yeah. And then like on the art side of things, obviously I follow Patrick and ACK and my homie Nice Day Jules are all totally crushing it right now. And then, yeah, I guess there's like kind of three ways of looking at it. Like what's the fringe stuff? What's the art stuff? And then like on the business side, I follow some people, mostly a lot of the crew at like Yuga Labs and Azuki. I think they're just top brilliant minds out there.
The fact that Azuki came back after that massive scandal just shows that they have staying power.
Yeah, or that wild. People don't care about rugs.
That's true. Look into it if you want to see the biggest comeback story of Web3 I've ever seen. Okay, so what are you working on now or next coming up? And where can people find you? What your handles?
Yeah, I'm always working on something different. I kind of switch it up. Like sometimes I'll be doing music or art, or then I'll get into business and work on consulting. Right now, I'm just really on this like tech house wave, actually. I was making trap and punk music for the last 3 years. I feel like I did that for a while, and now I'm just like all in on techno and house music.
Dope. Okay.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and you can find me at Harrowyn like everywhere.
But how do you spell that? Because it's not how you think.
It's up there. They can read.
Oh, there you go. Never mind. Okay, so we're gonna open it up for Q&A, and then I think we're gonna have your song ready to play. Hopefully that's lined up. So first of all, big round of applause to Harrowyn.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Awesome. Okay, so we'll hand the mic out. Bobby Del Rio. Okay, of course you have a question. Let's go.
Hey, what's going on? Interesting POV. I'm gonna ask you a question just because you said you had like a debate show, so I do want your take on that, because I think it is interesting what you're saying about extricating the culture from the financialization, because I agree there is an over-financialization of Web3, but at the same time, people have lost 80-90% of the value of NFTs.
So have I.
Crypto, like everyone, right? So that's got to bleed into the culture, right? Because now people are going to associate Web3 culture, NFT culture, however you want to define it, with losing, lots and lots and lots of money, right? So how can you reconcile those two things?
I love that question. Thank you so much for that. Like, I love that question. That is part of the culture. That like is part of the culture. Dude, the number of times I've been rug pulled and scammed and hacked and like lost everything and had to build myself back up, like at least 3 times, honestly. Like, yeah, you know what I mean? Like for real. Like sometimes it's been brutal, actually. And I think, actually, like just like a little side story. Like right when I was getting into like trading crypto, like. I wasn't even in NFTs yet, but I like fucked up and got scammed and literally lost everything and was trying to figure out like how I paid rent that month. And then I hit up my friend. I was like, dude, I need to make some money like today. And he's like, have you heard about NFTs? So like, I get it. I get that there is like this, culture of like getting rugged sometimes and like losing 90% of your net worth. And like, I get it. And like, I think you kind of just have to roll with the punches and like, take it with a grain of salt and just like, like I created this collection called NGMI, like Not Gonna Make It. That was essentially like taking all the pain and suffering that I like went through with that experience and like was like, yeah, like obviously I'm not gonna make it. I keep getting scammed,
But it's a community that brings it all together.
Yeah,
right?
And it's the like your friends like vibe with the joke and they like support you and lift you up. That's like what I'm here for. Yeah.
Great question. Ruby.
Hey there. Thanks for speaking. It's really great to hear your thoughts on things. I'm wondering if you could talk a little bit more about collectors, hyping the artist.
Yeah.
And like what that process is like. Because I'm like in the music world, it's very much like Web2 music. It's like you have your demos, you like pitch them out to people, they listen to it, and then someone's like, yes, and then they're like, invest, and then the marketing goes wild. So like, I was just curious, like, what your experience has been like in Web3 with that, or if you've heard other people talk about it as far as like collectors gassing up artists and making them a thing.
Yeah, that's also a great question. So I think it's like this fundamental paradigm shift where like usually or normally the artist, puts out a single and then that single goes out to all the people on Spotify, Apple Music, right? And the people listening to the music aren't viewed as like collectors. You're just like, streaming the song. Like this is a fundamental shift where like really the collectors are almost like more important than the artist now. Like they're the ones really dictating how the space goes from Web3. And so the more that like you realize that they're the ones like really kind of providing a lot of the value, they're the ones buying your NFTs, you know what I mean? Like if you start realizing like, like they're like doing more stuff to delight them is like ultimately like the end game.
Nice. Question. I know there's one over here. Right here. You have the question. I know you do.
I actually don't, but I'll create one.
What's your name?
My name's Rudy. Enjoyed your interview. I heard someone say something, regarding the, it had to do with the culture and, really like the rugs and the losses, right? It kind of brings to mind to me, I don't know where this fits in music, but it sounds like basically there's a lot of room for education. And, using this technology and NFTs, it seems like that's a viable solution, or at least something that needs to be worked on.
Yeah, I think that the longer people are in this space and like interacting with people and going to meetups like this, like whether it's blockchain or NFTs or AI, like you're gonna become so immersed in this stuff that eventually like something clicks and you're gonna hit it big, whether it's like Pepe coin or some other thing, Oh, it's coming back.
Hi, Harrowyn. Thank you so much for your words. And this interview is awesome.
Hell yeah.
I was wondering if you could talk more about your relationship with your sister. Is she a fellow creative? And
no, she's not very creative. I'm like the creative one in the family. But she loves music like I do, and she's actually like kind of the science one. Like she's like an engineer, does like biomed engineering. And so it's great that we've had something to bond over. Like we go to Coachella like almost every year, and she was pressuring me so hard to go to Sunday Coachella last weekend because Skrillex and Fred again were playing. I was like, I know this is going to be the set of the year, and I faded it. She went, but like, yeah, it's great. It's awesome to have someone that is like also like really into music, that you're like super close and you've been to like all these iconic shows together.
Can I ask another question?
Sure.
It's completely unrelated to Web3, but I was curious. Do you have an opinion about men's fashion in the summer? What type
Men's
of
fashion in the summer.
And what type of footwear is appropriate for men in the summertime?
Yeah, I mean, my fashion is always like all over the place. I wear a lot of all blacks, so it gets hot. It gets hot in the summer.
But I was just curious if you had an opinion for the rest of us.
If you're gonna do my look in the summer, you got to stay in the shade most of the time.
Yeah, she's making me a little bit nervous there. I think, David, you have a question. I know you do down here.
Well, yes. Thank you for this great talk, and it's my first time here. I'm really excited to be here.
Hell
and
yeah.
Thanks, Jimmy, and thanks everyone here. I guess my question is, when you're trying to think about music and NFTs, which one do you think about music first, but how do you incorporate the NFT into your music? And
Yeah, that's a good question. So I view NFTs as kind of like the medium. Like you'll have artists that paint on canvas. You'll have some artists that sculpt out of clay. The blockchain is essentially the medium, like Ethereum versus Bitcoin versus Solana. All of those are different mediums. And so that's how I look at it. And so when I'm thinking about like being intentional. And, like, I actually get like anxiety whenever I mint something on the blockchain because I'm like, okay, this is gonna be here forever. Is this really it? You know what I mean? Do I really want to do this? Like, and so I try to be super intentional with like what I'm doing, and I'm like, so before I mint something, I'll be like, okay, I'm gonna take a step back and like really think of, like, is this what I want to do? And so, like, for example, like Solana is kind of like the VC chain, right? And so I was thinking about doing like a funny piece that's like making fun of VCs or making fun of Jim Cramer or something and putting it on like the Solana chain because that's like the medium that I want to like express that through.
Thank you.
So I think I have a question for you.
Yeah, what's up?
Who was the hero that made you kind of make that decision and leap into? Because you didn't. I mean, obviously you were learning about it and you were kind of going through the motions. But what was that one like moment where you're like, you know what, this is where I want to be?
I have a good friend. Like the coolest thing about like Web3 is that like you never know like who you're gonna meet or like what lives these people have lived. It's really like the most interesting, eclectic, and like welcoming group of people, honestly. And I learned like really quickly like never to judge a book by its cover. Because my friend that got me into like NFTs and crypto, like he was kind of like the meathead, kind of like tool of our group a little bit. Like we were all living in a trap house, like partying, and we all were honestly at that time. And he was like, like I like we all thought that we were like, hot shit, and he was kind of like just doing his own thing. And he's like, I'm gonna get like Bitcoin. You guys should look into it. And we're just like, we're too busy to even look into it. And then like a couple years later, like we all split up, went our own ways, and he just shows up in a murdered out Lambo, and I'm like, okay, dude, I'm like paying attention now. And then he was like, NFTs, Web3, and he just like had this degen, but like he was like the original degen. Like he's got like Ethereum logos tatted on his knuckles and shit. Like he really is like the first degen, honestly. And so I'm like, okay, I'm paying attention. I just like learned about the culture through him. So he was like, honestly, the man. Love it.
I have one question, Harrowyn. In your opinion, what is the best Web3 co-working space in Los Angeles?
Oh, there's no question. You already know it's
That's an amazing
Nova
question.
3 Dancing Seahorse.
Love it. That's it. That was, I mean, that was a no-brainer for him. You have a question?
I guess that should have been the last question.
Yeah, that should just top it off right there.
We can do
All
one
right.
more.
Let's give it up for Harrowyn and also for Kelly. Excellent job, guys.
Thank you.
What we're going to do is open up for some little bit of introduction here. We'll start. I'm sorry?
We want to hear a song.
Oh, song.
Yeah, I got a new
Yes, that's
song
right.
out.
I almost forgot.
Yeah.
Ready a song?
I have a non-Web3 question also. Where's my cat?
Oh, it's right there. I took
Where?
care of it. It's sleeping. I
Does
put it
someone
to
have
sleep.
her?
Yeah, it's
Okay,
right
I just want
down.
to make sure Doja's
No, it's
cool.
fine.
Okay, let's go.
Yeah, it's my new song. What's up?
Thank you. Thanks again, Harrowyn. Very nice. Very nice.
Thank you guys.
Super. DJ Harrowyn, right? All right.
I'm a DJ now.
Yeah, you're DJ artist extraordinaire.